This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Chasen Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Kurt Underhill from the Fishing Crew.
That was a offhand hook set there, buddy.
Yeah, well, that was supposed to be a jig wrap and kind of hook set type of. I'm like, oh, forget it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn this weekend.
Yes, you are coming out to fish the Linnell Lunker with me and Josh Bible. I hope you don't have high hopes. We got lucky last year and won it.
Are you kidding me? You're fishing with me. There are no high hopes. It's just going to be fun to learn and fun to fish with Josh and just have some fun with Bible and you. And
I think what I'm most excited for is you to try all his rods and his new line of bottom bouncing rods that are going to be coming later this fall, early or late winter, midwinter. So he's got a whole custom line of bottom bouncing rods he designed. They're going to be for sale. So it's there. I got to fish with them not last week and weekend before, and they're pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm really a picky bouncer rod guy. Abu Garcia Black Max 6.5 foot medium. I can't find anything more comfortable, so I'm really pumped to try the JB custom rods. I really am. I'm super pumped, and I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time here because we're going to get Austin Ellingson on. But did you hear about Bismarck?
I think Lake Oahe's going to fill up.
Oh,
that ain't even the photo you should have showed. You should have showed the bridge where that was 13.6, and it was probably 12 foot of water under that bridge.
Yeah, I just went and I stole a quick picture because I wanted to just highlight it. And more bad news if you're a Viking fan. Man, Viking fans can't catch a break. It is absolutely, it's just ridiculous.
At least we're starting out on a bad note and not going to have the hope and then the depression.
Yeah, isn't that right? Well, let's bring in our guest tonight because this is going to be kind of fun. I'm excited to have Austin Ellingson here, or I should say we are. Austin, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fabulous. Congratulations on that win at Bitter Lake. You and Justin pulled off a big second day. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I was all focused on Tom Seberg and all the stuff we talked about and the family and everything. And all I did was, at least I was kind enough to shake your hand and congratulate you, but I should have taken pictures and had a chat with you. So sorry, I didn't mean to be a snob. I wasn't doing that. So anyway, appreciate your time tonight.
Yep, absolutely.
So, Austin, give a little background about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and how you got into fishing.
Yep. My name's Austin Ellingson. I grew up in Del Rapids, South Dakota here. I grew up fishing. We always used to go out to Platte to the river. So I grew up doing that when I was young. About when I was 14 or 15 is when I started fishing a few tournaments. And then when I was 16, I actually started taking my dad's boat out without him, and everyone thought he was crazy for letting me do that. But then I went and fished a few tournaments and kind of got my feet wet in a few, and I've been doing it ever since. So been fishing the Lake Area Walleye Club for about 7 years now.
Wow. So tell us about this one. I was trying to find some decent pictures of you because I had heard that you've been rather successful lately. Did you win something, or are you in close proximity to Angler of the Year? Tell us about that.
Yep. So that picture was 2 years ago for our Lake Area Walleye Club Championship. This year, we won our first Lake Area Walleye Club event. The second one, I don't think we did too well. And then the third one, we won again. And then the fourth one, we got like a top 10 in that one as well. So we've won 2 this year, and then that MWC is the third tournament this year that we've won.
I think if I pop this up, it's going to be really hard to see. I put an arrow by your name there, but if this is true, the Team of the Year standings for this year, you are in second place right now.
We got second. Yep. Our last one was on Bitter about, I think that was 2 weeks ago, and we had to do pretty good. And my fish actually ended up moving like 11 o'clock. We caught fish. 4:30 when the tournament started, or 5, all my fish were gone. And so we ended up not doing very well in our 5th event there, and then finished second for team of the year.
Okay, see,
Well,
it's so hard to see on my cell phone. I couldn't tell whether the season was done or not yet. But are you using a Yarcraft too?
I was in a Yarcraft. Yep, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some trailer issues, and with contingency money and all that now, we lost out. I lost out on 16 grand just in that for this year. So I immediately sold that thing and went and got a Nitro. And first tournament with the Nitro is so far 1 for 1. So
hey, that's pretty good. So let's talk about bitter. You had obviously you practiced. The wind, Mother Nature didn't really play nice at all with the wind on, was it Thursday that it was horrible? Friday was not good. Saturday, of course, was a little bit different, a little easier to fish. You fished it a couple weeks before. Bitter is it's a tough lake for those that don't know it. You know, you obviously have you've got some experience with it, so it makes things just a little bit easier, but there's a ton of structure in there.
There's a ton. It's never ending in that lake. You can find them deep, shallow, weeds, rocks, trees,
disc, combine.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I was actually talking to a few of the guys that were fishing it that were kind of staying at our hotel there, and I was kind of pointing out a few areas to them, you know, way back in and over this road, and you can get here and all this, and they're like, yeah, no thank you. I'm not testing that. I'm like, I hear you.
Well, it's an interesting lake. You know, there aren't really a number of monsters in there. I don't know, you know, limited maybe not 30 inchers, but those the 24, 25, 26, 27, there are quite a few 27s and a few 28s caught, right? Yours was it a 28?
Ours was a 27. We let a 27 go the day before and a 26 and a half. There's a ton of those 24. Shouldn't say a ton, but there's a really good amount of those 24 to 27 inch fish in there. But yeah.
Well, and the cool thing about bitter is you can fish it so many different ways. I mean, and be competitive. I mean, you can be slip bobbering something to pulling cranks or jig wrapping or casting crank. I mean, and that kind of makes a lake, you know, in your opinion, does it make a lake tough to break down for a tournament when you can literally go catch a 24 slip bobbering and 10 minutes later catch one on a crankbait, you know?
Yeah, it'll play with your mind for sure. You know, you could catch them cranking, and then, like you said, if you catch them cranking in one smaller area, do you slip bobber it? Do you jig it? How do you catch them faster? So there's always a ton of different ways you can do it. There's never a for certain this is what it's going to take to do it, because there is, like you just said, a ton of different ways you can catch those fish.
Yeah. You did it vertically jigging, right? You were vertical jigging for the most part.
Yeah. We were basically casting at them, but it was within that 15 to 20 foot range. So it was pretty well right under the boat. Okay.
So let's talk about your partner a little bit. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but so Justin Strutz, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Strutz? Okay, so
it's actually Strutz, but everyone calls it Strutz. It's even me. I call him Strutz too. I said we're sticking with Strutz. That's what everyone says. So
I get it. Well, I may just stick with Strutz just because that's the way it's.
He probably won't turn around and look at you then.
Right. So take a look at this picture. Now look at this one. Now look at this one.
Is he a runaway Canadian you're trying to get at, or what? What are you trying to get at? Is he? Are
you sure he's not a Johnston? Seriously,
he could be. I have no idea.
Well, those are bass guys. So if you don't pay attention to the bass world, which one of those boys, they're going to win the tournament on St. Lawrence, and I think I'm going Corey.
Yeah, I think I got Chris.
You got Chris. Okay, well, we can't all go with the same. So. Austin, do you pay attention to bass? Do you do the Bassmaster fantasy fishing or anything of that nature?
I do not, no.
We're trying to figure out how to get the fantasy fishing into the walleye world, and I think we're going to try to figure it out at some point. But it's a ton of fun. It really is. Kurt, you haven't done the Drain the Lake thing. I am 55 in the world. I'm at 99.7 in Drain the Lake. Drain the Lake is where... What?
I've yet to master even our league. I'm like third from last, and the 2 guys below me have had 3 weeks with zeros, or one guy's got like 6 weeks with zeros. So I don't think I'm a drain the lake guy. I'm barely this fantasy guy. So, it's nuts. So, but yeah, it's, we can talk bass stuff later, but Austin, so was this your first major tournament?
A major win.
First big win. Yes. Yep.
And there you both are.
So going into this, what is your, obviously you're the younger guys out there, and, few of the, obviously the local lake area walleye guys know you, but you're just, for the most part, some of the older guys probably don't know who the heck you are. And, and then all of a sudden you're there, and were you fully confident going in? What was it? What was it? The tournament you didn't have to think, everything went right, or was it just a complete meltdown and somehow it came out in the end?
Yeah, day one we did make the wrong decisions on the fish to keep, and we were actually sitting at the bar Thursday night there for a little bit talking to some other guys, and I said a couple times, I said, if I catch a 4-pounder first fish, it's going back. And they kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And I think, it's the one in my left hand right there, I believe. It was like almost touching 4.5 pounds, and it was just shy of 25. I think it was 24.5. And I had said, for all week that if we catch one of those, it's going back. And it was just a gut instinct. I'm like, throw it in the live well. I'm not going to look at it again. Throw it in the live well. Let's move on. And then the next one was a 26, and then they kept getting bigger. It was a 26.5 that went almost 7 pounds, and then a 27. And I thought after those 2 big ones, I'm like, people are catching them. We shouldn't have done that. We're going to be in the hole a little bit going into day 2. But you can't win it on day 1, but you can lose it on day 1 was kind of my thing going in. So it was like, we'll just stick with what we got. And it was by 9 o'clock in the morning. So it was, okay, now we have all day to go get nice slots to try to make up for that, which didn't really happen there either. So I thought for sure we were going to be a little farther down than what it turned out to be.
Well, and with all the weather, it was crazy. Water temperature dropped. I heard anywhere from 12 to 18 degrees. I guess it depends on where you were in the lake. I think in your explanation, it dropped 12 degrees. That's a major drop. And then to have the sunshine and have active fish. And did you find that too, where you had sunshine, you had active fish, the clouds came out, blocked the sun, the bite stopped, and it didn't pick up again until the sun came out? Odd.
A little bit, yeah. Yep. We were just lucky enough to get our big fish basically right away. So I was more so just running that trolling motor on 7 to 8 clicks, just trying to cover as much water as I could.
So you go out there and you got, big wins day 1. I mean, what are you thinking? Now I'm jigging. How am I going to pull this off? I mean, you had 2 completely different days on that body of water. So did you fish the same areas, fish the same tactics, or were you like, we can't jig, we got to troll, or like, what was it? I mean, that's got to be a mental gymnastics in your head of what to do when you got wins like you had.
Yeah, luckily day 1 with the wind and everything, my spot was kind of tucked behind an island. So I knew I was somewhat out of the wind if I stayed a little closer. So I knew I could fish my area pretty good, at least through the first part of the morning. But with the temps and how cold it was Friday morning, I don't know why, but my first instinct was just to downsize my jigging wrap. So I went from a 7 to a 9 all the way down to a 5. So I was throwing a tiny little jigging wrap. And that first 24.5 that I threw at, I wasn't snapping it. I was just barely popping it a little bit to get that thing just to dart back and forth a little bit. And when it went right by his face, he immediately just crushed it. And I stuck with that jigging wrap the rest of the weekend.
So you got to go to the ice fishing department to find those.
That's exactly what it was. I only had like 4 of them along too. So I said, if this turns out to do anything, any kind of good, we better be picky on how fast we go through these jigging wraps.
Did color matter?
I stuck with clown color the whole time. I did try like the crawdad color and the blue chrome a little bit, but it didn't work. It was just clown. And going into day 2, that jigging wrap was completely destroyed. That back hook was completely straight. I actually had to bend it back. So I knew if I caught a big one on that back hook, it was going to straighten out. I was going to lose the fish. So I threw
There wasn't a phone
crawdad.
call to somebody in Del Rapids to go to Shield to bring you new baits.
I tried doing some research and looking for one. But I threw a crawdad right away Saturday morning at like 3 big marks that were probably 27 to 29s, and not one of them looked at it. So I went back to the clown.
Oh,
We'll get him back.
must be getting a phone call.
Oh yeah, there you go. Is that an iPhone thing or it's an iPhone thing, not an Android thing?
I don't know. I think it's all phones. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, so going back to your fantasy, why we got him on phone call here. The drain the lake. I'm not gonna get near that.
Oh, it's fun. You really, I'm not kidding you. It is a ton of fun because you're picking 8 guys, and there aren't any women in the Bassmaster Elites yet, but I bet there will be soon.
Oh, we got him back.
So anyway, you pick 8 and you
Can't
can't
hear
use
ya.
them again. So we'll talk about
Yep.
that. Good to have you back. Must have had a phone call.
Yep.
Yep. Now he's gone again. So yeah, you pick 8 and you can't use them again. Like I've got Cooper Gallant and Chris Johnston. I saved for the St. Lawrence for Drain the Lake. So we'll see where things go. I just have a ton of fun with Drain the Lake, even more so than with just the regular Bassmaster Fantasy fishing. I think I'm at 2,000 something, so 93.7%, something like that. But it's the fun, you know.
I think the biggest takeaway I took from the Bassmasters this weekend was that Wes Logan and that leash he had on his motor. Wow. And guys that fish Bitter Lake and fish these shallow water lakes, if you guys haven't seen that, go look up Wes Logan on Facebook. And he hit what he thinks was a floating dock or something, and his motor ripped off, and the leash made it so it didn't come in the boat. The kid went to the hospital, got like 12 stitches in his forehead, 4 in his chin, 4 broken ribs, 3 hours with CAT scans and MRIs, and went back and fished for an hour and a half and ended up in 60th.
Yeah,
so
amazing. And he's fishing this weekend too. So Austin, you're back. Thank you very much.
Go. Yep.
So you were talking about you were going through different baits and you went back to that clown. Did you fish the original clown that was all beat up, or did you have a spare?
I did not have a spare, and I actually, like I said, I didn't want to throw it because the hooks and everything were so beat up on it. So I wanted to throw in with fresh hooks, all that good stuff. I ended up going back to it, and the first fish I threw at with that clown, he crushed it. And
so were you sitting there when you have that fish on going, oh God, don't break. I hope it's not hooked in the back hook.
As soon as I set the hook pretty good, I immediately went to my reel and loosened up my drag a little bit.
Oh.
Like, I can't put too much pressure on this fish. I'll definitely lose it.
Do not miss with the net because this is all we have.
No, one chance right here.
Are you getting any rain down there? I see we got a big rain out at South Whitlock, out in Gettysburg area. How about you in Pierre there, Kurt?
Yeah, we got hammered, but it's sun shining now.
All right, and Austin, how about you there? You must be close to home or at home in the driveway.
I'm pretty close. Yeah, I'm at the shop right now. We got a little bit of rain, but nothing crazy.
So you go out there. How old are you right now?
25.
25. So you've been doing competitive fishing tournaments on your own since 16. You know, I'm glad to hear that. It's so awesome to see young kids. And, you know, we had the big Lieutenant Governor's Cup and everyone's like, oh, it's so awesome. But I'm like, you guys, it is awesome. I love it. I love getting kids into fishing, but I have a hidden thing because I want them to be my anglers later in life. And that, like, I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. It's awesome. But guess what? I'm just trying to get them hooked. So with these kids out there and the kids that watch this, what at 16 years old, you take your dad's boat and with permission, maybe not, who knows? Maybe you call them as you're driving the lake and saying, I got the boat. I don't know. What is do you remember back to that first day by yourself? What was that like?
Oh, it was nerve-wracking as heck. It was, I rolled up in a boat that obviously wasn't even mine. I had maybe a couple rods in the boat, whatever tackle I could get with my birthday money. I think we ended up, we pulled cranks for a little bit, maybe one box of flicker shads and maybe a box of deep diving cranks is about all I had. And we actually fished Lake Madison. And we ended up getting 5th, but it was insanely nerve-wracking. And it still is sometimes when you roll up to the boat ramp and you see a lot of those rigs, you're like, holy smokes, I don't stand a chance. But it was a ton of fun. Wish I would have done even more at that age.
No
So
kidding.
what would you give? Go ahead, Brett. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just to say that's good advice, telling kids to, if you want to do more, do more. Don't hold yourself back.
I was just gonna say, what's a piece of advice to if you had one piece of advice to give to 16-year-old you, what would that have been?
Fish more. Just keep fishing.
Yeah.
It's really easy to, like I said, look at somebody else's boat and be like, holy smokes. But
they got a bigger motor, they got more electronics, they've got
everything.
10 times the tackle I have.
Yep.
You know, not that I know what I'm talking about. I did this back in 2013. I decided to buy an old boat, a good old 16-foot Lund, spent $3,000 on that, but I spent $8,000 on the electronics because I wanted to learn how to use that stuff. And to me, it was the greatest thing I ever did, best move I ever made. Would you say that these 15 and 16-year-olds should just go ahead and get the 16-foot tiller? If dad's got a 16-foot tiller with a 50 horse on it, 35 horse on it, go get yourself a live sonar and figure it out.
Exactly. That's what I did with the first boat I bought. Actually, my second one. It was a 2010 Skeeter WX. It was actually an 18-foot boat. It was a pretty nice boat, but the electronics I put on it were way more than kind of what I had into that boat. So 100% if I was just starting out, I would just get kind of the most comfortable boat I can, and I would go all out on the electronics.
Yeah.
So obviously you're a scoper, you're out there. Is that primarily what you're doing every time you're on the lake now?
A good majority of it. If there's any kind of basin fish or edges, anything like that, where I do like to just cover a little more ground, I'll put some cranks down and just go. But after I catch a few fish, I'll really tune into those spots with live scope almost instantly.
Yeah, amazing. I love hearing stories of young people going out, kind of living the dream. I'm guessing it was a dream, right? And then you go out. I think I saw it on, maybe it was Justin's Facebook page, you know, living the dream or dream come true, something of that nature. It's inspirational.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you had your first boat, were you running just like what kind of your dad's boat? Do you remember the electronics on that thing? And were you dialed in on those, or did you just kind of turn them on and go, there's the bottom, and I think that's a fish?
Pretty much. I knew what I was looking for, but I couldn't tell you what kind of fish it was at that time. You know, I couldn't have told you that, oh, that's a carp or a walleye. I'd have just been like, yeah, there's a fish down there. And
pretty much running 2D back then.
Well,
yeah, I believe he had the Lowrance. Yep.
Yeah. So 9-10 years ago, that really 9-10 years ago is when side imaging and down imaging really started to become popular. And then of course the 360, and then it grew from there, you know. And do you rely on them all? Do you still, even though you're scoping the side imaging, down imaging, 2D, do you use all four of them together?
Absolutely. Yep. On my dash, I have my Garmin units, and I run the 2D, side scan, all of that on my dash, and I won't drop until I see fish.
They all have their place.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a guy the other day, and they're really talking about how well Garmin side imaging is coming along. And I've never ran it. I don't know. Is it really is it coming along to be pretty dang good? Because, you know, back in the day, it was Humminbird for side imaging and down imaging. You know, you had each unit that kind of did their own thing. But I think, you know, Garmin, when forward facing came out, I mean, still it's number one in the game, right? I mean, I will argue that if you're wanting to scope, get a Garmin.
100%. Yep. I had a Garmin on my last boat. I ran the Solix units for the side imaging purpose of it. And they were phenomenal. And I really wasn't expecting that with the Garmin, but it is pretty dang close. So I am
good.
Very, very satisfied with my Garmin units for sure.
I started with Humminbird and made the move to Lowrance because I frankly like Lowrance. I like their down imaging and their side imaging just a little, or down view, side view, a little bit better.
Yeah, that's another thing too with the Garmin units is that 2D is is way better than I expected too. So I've been blown away. If I had to get a new boat next year, if I did get a new boat next year, they'd be Garmin again.
So one thing I will say to people is like, you know, you get I don't know much about Humminbird forward facing sonar, but Lowrance, you pretty much can change your color gain and that's it. The Garmin unit, there is a lot of settings in play and there is a lot more to that. And it's almost like too much. You know, if you're just a newcomer to it, go with the Lowrance. If you really want to dive in and take your time, get into that Garmin. And you know, a buddy of mine told me best, just get out there. And I don't know if you did this, but he goes, when you try to figure out those settings, get out there and hit the pause button. And when you know there's a fish there, and start messing with settings till you can really see that fish how you want to see it. And that's what I kind of did. And I got some help from Tom Seberg on my Garmin, and it really changes. Settings really matter in those things.
Absolutely.
And you can't clean up the screen. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Nope, you're good. That's the first thing I do on any lake, pretty much, even if it's before a tournament, is almost just find a fish quick and adjust your settings to that water clarity or anything like that, and then go from there.
Well, and that's just it. Like we were on Devil's Lake last year fishing the snow bears, and the one guy I jumped in for the second day, I had mine on auto fresh, and he goes, flip it on auto salt on Devil's Lake. And I'm like, what? And he's like, flip it on auto salt, and literally change the picture quality. I don't know if there's that much more salt in Devil's Lake, or it's a freshwater shrimp, or what it is, but auto salt on the Missouri River does not help. But on Devil's Lake, it was a game changer on the picture quality. So are you doing that on Bitter? Are you doing that on these little lakes? Are you messing with that?
I have not. Nope.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either, but it does make sense. If you've got a lake that's got a ton of pollen and that type of, just all that teeny tiny, you know, microorganisms and stuff, I could see if you put that on salt rather than fresh, that you might clean the screen. And that's part of the other problem too that I noticed with neighbors out at South Whitlock that complain that say it just sucks. They can't find their bait. They don't know what they're doing. I think they overfilter. Yeah, you know, if your screen is clean and you're looking for your bait, or if you lift it and then it moves and you drop it and then it drops, you're over filtering it and you're getting the screen way too clean. I learned a couple of things just a couple of weeks ago. We were fishing over the Willows in 110 feet of water, so we're 45 over 60. And I realized I didn't need to be in that 110 feet. So I went to 60, and that instead of my jig being this teeny tiny little itty bitty pinhead, I ended up getting a great mark, even though we were drifting because the trolling motor stopped and it was 35 feet away from me. But and that comes with practice, right? You got to go out and use the thing. You can't just turn it on and expect to catch fish, especially with scoping. You can find fish scoping, but here again, you have to have all the mechanics down. The cadence is huge. Is that really important to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, you can, even going from lakes that are right next to each other, you can have a perfect picture on one lake. You go to the other lake and there's so much clutter you can't see anything. So if you're not really familiar with the settings, definitely play with them as much as you can.
I think even bottom hardness comes into play. If you get into a gravel bottom, a sand bottom, hard bottom, and you get those double and triple returns, it will mess you up if you don't understand all that stuff. Practice, practice, practice.
Mm-hmm.
So you said, going back to your fishing techniques, you know, we're talking cadence and that, you figured go small, water temperature cool down, air temperature cool down, go small and slow hops. Was that the same tactic you took into Friday or to Saturday?
Yep. I stayed with the small jig and the small jig and wrap, and again, I just wasn't with how far that water temp came down. I figured them fish were not going to try to pin it as much. They weren't really as
aggressive.
active. But yep, if you could get it right by them, just enough reaction out of them just to get them to snap it quick.
So the old downsizing thing that just holds true.
Yep. absolutely.
So did you see that change as the day went on and water, as the sun came out, they warmed up? Did you see the fish act any different, or was it pretty much the same?
It was pretty much the same. The two bigger ones we caught on Friday came on that small jig and wrap, and they did come shallower. It was actually my slot fish spot. But it was the same thing. If you could get it right by their face, they were still hitting it.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was pressure was on the higher end of the spectrum. It was 30.2, I think 30.21 I saw on Friday, and Saturday it was 31.25. So pressure was high. So, and I've noticed that out at the river, if pressure is high, the bite is off. And certainly here with, our lakes and our basin lakes, whether you're talking Thompson or Poncet or Sinai or whatever, if pressure's high or low, it does make a difference here. Maybe not so much at the river, but I think you fish bitter enough. Did pressure come into play at all for you, or does it matter on that lake?
Usually, yeah. And how much pressure in general from other fishermen that lake has had over the last month. When some guys said that the weights, you're looking for a 15, 16 pound bag. I didn't really believe it at first with the weights that lake has been pushing out. But with how long it's been pushing them weights out, I figured that we could be at that spot too. Not only the cold weather, but the fact that bite has been so good that bite was probably going to drop off just a little bit.
Now, you said you caught 75 to 100 fish in those 2 days. That's a ton of fish.
Oh, yeah. Saturday, we had both our overs in by 8:45, and we went through a good 50 to 75 small fish. And then we actually went through probably 10 to 15 of those 15 to 15 and a half inch fish. So just
were those smaller fish grouped up?
They were. Yep. There was probably you'd see 3 of them and you're hoping they were maybe 16s. And as soon as you'd get a couple of them to start kind of swiping at your bait, all of a sudden there was 30 of them. You had a whole Christmas.
Oh, that's so fun to see, especially on live sonar. It's a treat and a great lesson in what you're seeing. And I think if people would understand that the difference in young walleye to older and more mature walleye is amazing.
Oh yeah.
So did you change your tactic to go for your slot fish, or was it the same tactic?
Throwing a jig and wrap at them. I threw a couple different colors at them too. But all of our nicer slot fish came on a jig and a crawler.
Do not do that on Lake Oahe. You will have catfish central.
Hey, they feel like walleye until you get them up to the boat. I mean, what the heck? So, okay, let's talk about Justin a little bit. I don't want to leave him out here. I'll just pop up another picture of him again. He's your partner, has been for quite some time. Give us the background on both of you.
Yeah, that was 18 or 19 at least, when I had first met him and everything. And we actually did some hunting and stuff in the fall, and came around the springtime. My other buddy from high school was like, I don't think I want to, fish the league and stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I asked Justin, I'm like, you want to fish this league and fish some more tournaments? And he's like, yep. So we've been fishing league together ever since.
Well, I'm gonna nickname him Third. He is the third Johnston brother, and that's the way it is. Sorry, Justin. I apologize, but I don't, because you're third. Although you're first. So congratulations to both of you on the win. I think it's super amazing. And because of that win, you took home, $11,000 in cash. Could have taken home some more if you'd had the right boat, that kind of thing.
He did have the right boat. He got $8,000 contingency. He said he switched to a nitro.
Right. So what was it that you didn't get in the side pot, or you didn't get into any of that other extra money, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. But because of the win, you're going to Pickstown in 2025, and you guys are going to fish the NTC, which has to be even a bigger, better dream. Whipped cream, cherry on the top, whatever. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we actually qualified for that not this year, but last year when it was in Green Bay.
Okay.
So we went out to Green Bay and fished NTC out there. But because of our dry lake number 2, we were in a side pot, and Ponset for league, we were in a side pot. So we actually already he's got a different partner that he had signed up with, and I had our third guy for league. His name's Corey. Corey had signed me and him up for dry too, and so we won that side pot too. So the MWC side pot deal, I think we're going to end up turning that down just because we kind of already have another partner and everything. And
so you're going to split up for that event?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Otherwise, those guys have to go find a partner out of that side pot and all that. And we both kind of were like, well, we already have our partners. We can kind of team up for the NTC type deal. So
yeah,
we'll just go do that since we got the cash, the plaques, everything that comes with that side pot. So we got our spots. So I think we're just going to go that route.
Go take first and second place, right?
Yeah, that'd be
Win them as a
sweet.
team, yeah.
So who's going to be first then?
I don't know. It'll be tough.
You can go ahead and
not here to defend himself, so might as well take the glory.
Yeah.
Taught him everything he knows.
Right.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, I got a shout out to Seth Lubers because Seth said, hey, do you know Austin Ellingson? I'm like, I don't know him. Not at all. And then all of a sudden you're winners and I'm busy with Tom and having fun. And again, I did not mean to not come up and introduce myself. I'm there. I'm kind of there just trying to not bother people. But then I felt kind of bad that I didn't stop and chat with you a bit. So it was great that you could come on the show tonight and share the real story and tell us all about the win and your past, and then talk about your future. It's just been fantastic that you.
So that's where I was going to go. What's next? You won an MWC. Did it open up more of a thrive to go chase the rest of the MWC or NWT or maybe our events out here in the river? Like what's next for you guys or you yourself, I guess?
Yeah, no, the Governor's Cup this year, I actually really wanted to go out there. I actually had some trailer issues with my last boat, so it ended up costing me more money by I was like 5 hours late to a tournament for the Summer Classic and still pulled out 8th on that one. But anytime you win, it's like you'd think somebody would be satisfied with the win. Like you won, you're good, you're probably not going to fish much. But for me, and I'm sure a bunch of others, it's like even more ambition to go. Like we have our championship Friday and Saturday, and if I knew the lakes and we could pre-fish, I'd be up there right now. Like I'm just ready to go again.
I get that. I'm guessing Bible Underhill won the tournament we're fishing in this weekend. And Kurt, you agree? You want more? You want to win it again?
It's always fun. But I'm definitely I love being out there fishing, but I'm definitely the guy that loves being on shore, putting them on. I learned that in the NTC in Mobridge a couple years ago. I'm like, this is a lot of fun, Woody, but I feel bad because my head is on that shore thinking of what and I'm not even running the event, but thinking what I should be doing if I was running the event. And I mean, we got to have each, right? I mean, like I said, I'm a terrible fisherman. I got lucky last year, caught a 24 jig wrapping, and Bible's like, he's up there on the live scope, and I'm just blind casting, and I end up smacking a 24 or big fish that won us big fish and the tournament on a blind cast. And I'm like, oh, cool. I guess I can catch a couple. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. We're definitely going to give it our all. And can't wait to have you in the boat for the first time. Or maybe I'll just, Austin, what are you doing this weekend?
Yeah, you might want him more than me.
I should have removed you from the stage before I said that.
I can talk about everything from the other end of the islet. It's all that coming forward back down to here that I just can't figure out. So what the heck? Well, I suppose, Austin, we should let you go. So you got
championship this weekend?
Yep. Okay.
Friday.
Well, Thursday night we have a little meeting and whatnot, and we do a random draw Thursday night to figure out where we fish Friday. And then Friday night, we have a random draw to figure out where we fish Saturday. So
that's kind of fun. No practice, just swing at it.
Yep. Exactly. And then we're signed up for Cass Lake MWC, and I believe that's our last one of the year.
Fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's been great having you on, man. Probably see you again in the future. I mean, it's going to be, I think you've got a bright future ahead of you. Keep your head down. Keep working hard for it. Buy more little jigging wraps is what I learned tonight. Like, I don't have any tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be putting an order in with Shields or Precision Fishing to get me some more little jigging wraps because I only have big stuff. I don't know how well the little ones will work on the river. And they're pumping. I saw the 30,000 cubic feet right now is a schedule for tomorrow. And
is that what? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and which has been good because we haven't had current all year, so these fish are going to stage a little different. On people don't think current matters. You know, you talk to people all current on Lake Oahe, you don't notice it. You definitely notice it with the fishing trends. We're learning that more and more with live scope on how they're stacking up and what they're doing, and that all that rain in North Dakota, you know where it's coming. It's coming right down here. So I don't know what this lake's going to do. What the core is going to, if they're going to hold back or if we're going to fill up some. We're not going to get crazy full, but we can come up a couple feet, So it'll be interesting, but good luck this weekend. We'll be paying close attention to you from here on out because you kind of rose to the top, and can't wait to see what you do, buddy.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys.
Hey, thank you much. We appreciate having you. Thank you, and good luck.